Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. And I'm going to be talking about the breaking news that Thomas Tuchel got sacked by Chelsea FC this morning. I was just scrolling on my phone casually, like, yep, it's going to be a very boring day. And no, it wasn't. And I saw the news and I couldn't believe it. And so in this video, I'm going to walk you through kind of my initial knee-jerk reaction thoughts, some insight from key journalists close to the story who provided really interesting background on what happened, and I think could help to provide insight and understand the decision a little bit more, and then kind of how I'm feeling now after having that and where we go from here. So my knee-jerk reaction was, what is going on? What is happening? Because I love Thomas Tuchel as a manager. Obviously, he won Chelsea the Champions League. He seems that he was getting backed in the transfer window. It has not been a good run of results, but I feel that Thomas Tuchel is a tactical genius, and if there was anybody who was going to turn around the results and be able to find a solution in the club, it was going to be Thomas Tuchel, and it just felt so quick to me. I was thinking, is this because of the 1-0 loss? Like, we just started the season, we have more time, hasn't been an ideal start, but there's time to figure things out. And after everything that Thomas Tuchel did for the club, I thought that he was going to have that time. So I'm going to share some key insight from journalists, and then we'll just talk about it and I'll give my insight, but I think it's going to be really useful. So I'm going to share my screen. And first off, Ben Jacobs, obviously friend of the show. He's been on a couple of times. Highly recommend if you don't follow him already. He said, Chelsea have sacked Thomas Tuchel. He was informed this morning. The decision is not only down to mixed results or reaction to the poor Dinamo loss alone. It's part of a wider summer of strategic change too. Very keywords there, very interesting. The new American owners had every intention of sticking with Tuchel when they first joined, and by spending £270+ million, they backed him with a record spend. But there were doubts and eventually friction over how he handled the ownership transition. Tuchel was given more responsibility and ultimately authority. To some degree, every manager wants this. Both Boehly as interim sporting director, Tuchel's role became pivotal. Boehly and Tuchel were in daily contact, often for hours. There was a constant stream of calls. Tuchel became frustrated during the window, and communication broke down at times right when Tuchel's input was needed the most. This was pretty apparent at times in America. Tuchel wanted to focus on football. New owners, on the other hand, felt he could have done more to aid with transfers. This was very obvious during parts of the failed chase for Rafinha and Jules Koundé. Xavi was far more part of the pitch. Romelu Lukaku's exit didn't influence much, although he was frank with Boehly before he left. But it started a trend of Boehly talking directly and openly to players including Cesar Azpilicueta, Thiago Silva, and Reece James. In the end, there was a feeling, even before indifferent results, that a new manager might be better for a new era. This is also in part because the Abramovich tenure was so atypical in many ways. It might be easier with a new boss. Tuchel is obviously hugely respected, but Totes, the new owners want a manager who is both a fit to the team and business, with the latter so different to the old regime. Graham Potter is the early favorite to replace Tuchel. Keep all of this in mind. Going to move over to Nizar Kinsella, who also trust heavily, and he provided a lot of insight, and then I'll give my thoughts on the entire thing. So Nizar said, Tuchel's sacking had been coming since they lost 4-0 to Arsenal in preseason. This was almost a month and a half ago. The feeling was it was unraveling both his aptitude as a coach and the relationship with the new owner's players. The excuses made were unconvincing. Thomas Tuchel's press conferences increasingly felt detached from reality to me, but it wasn't him putting on a front to the media. That's what he's like behind the scenes. Many weren't convinced by the excuses. The new owners initially really believed in Thomas Tuchel's ability to be a long-term manager. He criticized them at a PR event in Orlando in an unprompted moment, got a terrible result for Arsenal, complaining about the preseason in USA generally. The data is plain to see as the season began. 6 wins in 14 games in all competitions, poor expected goals and wins for Leicester and West Ham, where manager claimed they were good wins. In Tuchel's first 50 games, they only conceded 24 goals, while in his last 50 games, they've conceded 53 goals. The data was instructive in the decision. The Dinamo Zagreb result was not the result was not the reason for the sacking, but the defeat was staggeringly bad. Boehly clearly watched on at the defeat to a team whose yearly budget is £54 million. Correa was £62 million alone. Tuchel hasn't seemed himself, and it was perhaps illustrated by his "I was watching the wrong movie" comments last night. In a CSC TV interview, he couldn't answer how to fix a question with a 10-second awkward silence. Graham Potter has already been contacted by Chelsea who want to make an appointment ASAP. Good relationship with Brighton might help. Mauricio Pochettino is also in the running. Chelsea's goal this season is to finish in the top 4, but that looked impossible all season with only one good display versus Spurs. The owners are ambitious and informed of their decision to relieve Tuchel of his duties this morning. It's also true that Tuchel was loved at Cobham. He's been an absolute gentleman with everyone over his time at Chelsea and made a lot of allies. The decision was made based on data that he wasn't right for new club culture and on him losing people. So having this context, I feel that it really brings a lot of insight into the decision. It doesn't seem as like knee-jerk as I initially thought that it was. It seems that it's something that has been potentially in the works for a couple of weeks. The main question marks that I have is that if the new ownership felt that Thomas Tuchel wasn't the right fit, why spend so much money in the transfer window and then give him just a week after the end of the window to work? That's the part that doesn't make sense to me. But reading all of that, it seems like there was just a relationship breakdown. I'm not sure if anything happened in the dressing room, if there was a breakdown with players as well. It seems that was alluded to in both of the, I don't want to say articles, but like threads that I read from the journalist, and just that the new ownership was looking for somebody maybe more hands-on in certain roles. So for me, at least this puts it into a bit more context. Obviously, the results have not been good enough when you read that we've only won like 6 in 14 games. We haven't been scoring many goals. We've been conceding a lot of goals. It hasn't looked good. I did feel that Tuchel maybe deserved more time in order to work on that. But it just looks like on the pitch we hadn't had any answers either. So this is kind of what happened. I don't know. I am still processing how I'm feeling about it, but at the end of the day, I just want what's best for Chelsea Football Club, and I honestly cannot thank Thomas Tuchel enough for what he's done, because he gave me one of the happiest days of my life. Obviously, wedding is number 1, but Champions League win is a solid number 2, I think. As for what's upcoming, it seems that Graham Potter is on his way to London. Maybe he's already in London, and Chelsea are going to talk to the Brighton manager about becoming the new Chelsea manager. And apparently, I think his release clause from his contract is about 18 million, and the new ownership have absolutely no issue with dealing the money for it. Mauricio Pochettino is also a possibility as well. But I think at this point in time, Graham Potter is a front runner. I think that he's done a fantastic job at Brighton. I mean, what a story. And the thing that I think about it is that he's very much a project manager. Like, he's had time. I think he's been there for 3 years already to build the team. It's really impressive that even though he's lost key players like Ben White, Bissouma, Correa even, they've still had really positive results. He's looked how to mold this team without these fancy names or without loads of money, and they're currently sitting in 4th in the Premier League, which is crazy. So I'd be interesting to see how he can mold this Chelsea team. Now we have a lot of players from different managers, players that were bought previously for different systems, and what he realistically would do with all of these players. At the end of the day, we need a formation. We need like to sturdy up the defense, and we need goals. So change needs to happen. Hopefully we'll see it. I don't know. I'm still processing everything, but that's basically as good as I can get for now. So let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Do you think that Tuchel was sacked too early? Would you have given him more time? Are you Are you looking forward to the new change in management? How you're feeling about it? Just let me know everything in the comments down below. I'll be sure to update you guys because I'm sure there's going to be many more updates as they come. And yeah, until next time, I'm out. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, evening, whatever time you're watching this. Bye.